In today's live stream, we're going to be talking to Joe from TCM Security about resumes and LinkedIn profiles and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. I'm sure we're going to go on a rant about something, but I'm super, super stoked. I'm honored to have Joe here with us tonight. So let me bring him in and have him introduce himself and what we're going to be talking about this evening. What's up, Jojo?
What's up, man? Happy to be here tonight. Been looking forward to this for a while. I'm glad you sent me the reminder, though.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I'm super stoked for having you. And, it's an honor, man. Like having someone take an hour and some change out of their day on a Thursday. I don't know. I don't know if there's Thursday night football. We were just talking about that off air. And I'm not really a big American football fan. So I don't really know. I know like the Dolphins had Monday Night Football and they killed it. But they messed their game up.
Killed my fantasy season on Monday. Raheem Mostert. No,
not
a fan. Yeah, there's a game tonight. I'm the commissioner of several fantasy leagues, and I have to, kind of crack the whip a little bit and let people know. Hey, set your lineups and then come do this show.
Nice. That's awesome. So is that all you enjoy? Is like American football?
No, I like fantasy football mainly because it keeps me in touch with my friends over 20 years, 15 years that otherwise I might not talk to a lot, but we have annual trash talking seminars for months on end. And honestly, it's one of those things that I can fully escape and not think about work or stress or things. Like it's just completely on its own. And that's what I really love about it. I'd pay to play it. Like if I lost money or whatever, I wouldn't really care that much. But I don't.
Exactly. And it's definitely good to disconnect from work, from just that whole career type, right? Disconnecting from your phone. I guess with fantasy football, you still have to be on your phone. And that's the same thing with me. And I think Heath Adams has said that as well. Take an hour and a half of your day. He plays b-ball. I like to go fight and go to the gym. So everyone has their, escape mechanism. So I think that's super important, especially for the mental health. A lot of people go through that in this field, right? So disconnecting from the computer, moving around. That's why I made that movement, right? Get jacked or get hacked. And yeah, man. So I'm super stoked about tonight. We'll be talking about, resumes and some LinkedIn profiles. And obviously I came up with some questions on my own, off air, just to pick your brain. So if no one, or if you've been living under a rock, if no one knows who you are, like who are you? What is it that you do for TCM, and what did you do prior to that?
I'm Joe Hudson, the fourth. I am the dad to my kid and the husband to my wife, and like that's how I hope people remember me when I die. But if someone remembers me from my work, I think I stay pretty connected to a lot of people. I'm in the cybersecurity world now for 6-7 years, something like that. I started out in recruiting here, but I began as an elementary school teacher, and was talking about that last night as I was at an ISSA chapter meeting, and we were talking about neurodivergent hiring and like trying to understand, different people with different mannerisms and ways that they deal with stuff. And I was thinking about all the kids I taught and whatnot, and just kind of dove into that. And so it's been really cool to kind of be working as long as I've been working now, and kind of recognize how the careers kind of intertwine and overlap in a lot of levels that you just wouldn't think until you go through it all. But yeah, currently TCM Security. Absolutely just blessed to be here. Incredible team. I am focused on really helping us grow in some different ways, raising awareness for what it is that we do on the consulting side, as well as our training academy, and kind of helping customers with a lot of their pen testing needs. So absolutely love it. Great challenging job.
Yeah. And that's super super exciting. And I'm sure you were stoked when you got the opportunity to work for TCM. Yeah. So, I had a few questions, about the TCM, the certification path. So there is some new certifications, right? There's like a web app, right? There's like a new web app.
PJWT.
Yep. So I guess I can do my due diligence and research, but like if those folks, I guess that's the newest one that you guys have released, right? They have PMPT, PJPT, the malware one, I forget, whatever.
The we have the PJMT, which is the mobile tester, junior mobile tester. Then the PJMR, which is the malware researcher, and then the recent one was the practical junior web tester. So I think that what's been happening a lot is, we've been collecting a lot of feedback from people, in terms of like, what do you guys want? Guys, what do you want to see? And we get a lot of really interesting submissions and requests. And then you have to kind of figure out what makes just the most sense for people out there, because we would love to create a million different types of certifications and whatnot. And some of these go really in depth, but really they are very well vetted in terms of what will the experience be like and how well does that apply to the real world. And how well will that prepare people for the real world. And they're going to keep coming, but it's going to be intentional and with some good thought and research and collecting a lot of feedback from people.
And that's great. So obviously, just out of curiosity, do you guys have any plans on doing any blue team certifications like IR?
I would say nothing is cemented yet, but there is no doubt that the blue team side is of great interest to us. And we don't want to do it, though, just to make sure we cover all the ground. Like there's a lot of organizations out there that are trying to do everything. And some of them are doing very well in terms of spicing it up and offering a lot of different courses. But, many of them are very expensive, or the way that the lessons go, you might get a certification, but it might not really advance someone's abilities. So we want to make sure that we are bringing in the right people to help us with that when we do certain certifications, if they are out of our normal strike zone, and really giving credit to the people that are putting in the elbow grease. But we don't want to just go making certifications to make them. We want to make sure it's really intentional and that it applies to our audience, because I know our audience is not just hackers or want to be hackers. It's people of all kinds of backgrounds. So we want to keep offering a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. And that's super great for, the team there, right? And the company, because everyone says Heath, but without you guys, there is no Heath. So
I'd be the first to tell you that.
Yeah. So it's a team effort, and the whole team should get, kudos and brownie points. And obviously having such a, I don't know him personally, but a good leader from the interwebs and everything like that, kudos and much more success, right? I'm sure things will fall into place and he will fucking shine and make it, make things keep going,
Yeah.
And so there's a question that I had for you that I was thinking about this today, right? And I had someone come up to me, and I'm thinking about doing this myself. There's like volunteer work, right? So say, for example, myself, I'll speak to myself. Like there's a company that reached out to me saying, hey, do you want to be a beta tester for this product? Would you put this as an experience? Like, yes, I want to put this in my network or wherever I am, and I want to utilize this technology on my own network or on my DMZ or wherever I'm going to put this device and test it and give my feedback to this company. But would you put that on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile as experience? That's a question I had.
Well, I think different scenarios, with let's say what your goal is to have that happen more times in the future, and you want more companies to come out of the woodworks and be like, hey, we'd love for you to try our product and be someone that is going to really give it the good rundown and give us feedback. If that's something you want more of in the future, I think what you do is you publicize it if that's a big goal, and you talk about the fact that you're not, you come out and you say, I'm not pushing this tool. I am here to be sort of a mouthpiece for the market. So if there's anyone else that might be interested in this tool, like I'm going to give you the real skinny on it. And then if it's a great product, you've already built that sort of trust with the community and the watchers, and the company knows you're not just trying to say what they want to hear and that you're no easy pushover and you can't be bought, And so then I think the next time a product comes up, man, the people are going to want to listen a little bit more, because they're going to know, okay, you came from the right place. You've given some really good, candid feedback. I think, though, that if that's not really your goal and you're not done with it yet, I don't think I would put it on there until you've wrapped up your sort of evaluation and you could actually talk about your experience. So if someone's like, hey, I saw that on your resume, tell me about it. You're like, well, I kind of just started like 2 weeks ago and we had one meeting and I actually haven't even received it yet. And this is embarrassing. I wish I didn't put that on my profile, So it kind of depends on what your goal is and also where you are in the process. But I definitely think that is it's a valuable thing for people to see. And I know that I've posted, for example, in the past that I went to a conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I posted that I'm going to be evaluating this conference. And then afterwards, I had 5-6 people reach out and be like, hey, can you tell me what that was like? And I said, it sucked. Don't go.
Yeah.
You know, they had me plug it in my zip drive into their laptop as the 14th person in a presentation. You know, it's bad cybersecurity for the most part. So
Yeah.
there's a lot. Yeah.
And you said something super catchy just a minute ago, like make sure you keep it a buck, right? Make sure you keep it completely honest. So keep it 100, right? And this person or this company reached out to me just because of that, right? Like you mentioned the other day on LinkedIn, we talked for like 2.5 hours when you were at your mom's house.
And then most I've walked in like 5 years, which is around my house in circles.
Yeah. And obviously you got to know me a little better, and I'm very straight shooter, right? Like I'm a straight shooter. I don't give a fuck who you are, where you're from. It's just me. You know what I mean? And it does like separate me from a lot of folks, right? I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from, what you look like, or whatever. Like if you're a millionaire, if you're a dollar heir, I want to treat you the same. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? So your money doesn't do shit for me, you know? So this person, obviously this company reached out to me saying like, I really think you'll give your honest feedback because of just the way you are. And that caught me off guard because it's like, whoa, really? Oh, kudos, dude. Thanks. I appreciate your honesty. And because I'm very, very transparent, right? Like I'm very transparent in my videos, in my lives. Like I keep it always a buck. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people know where my flaws are, where my pros, cons, or whatever. Like I don't hide it. I don't need to hide it. You know what I mean? I'm secure with myself, and it is what it is. So yeah, I like that you say that because that's super, super important just to always be honest with yourself and honest whatever you're doing. So
we even have to talk about it or even say it though, but you can get on LinkedIn for a couple seconds and you can find the fakers, you know. And I mean, there's times I read like postings about come work for an amazing company with a fantastic culture and a vision for growth. And you're like, man, let me throw up in this trash can real quick before I comment, because this is the same fakeness that you see over and over again. And it makes it really tough to want to buy into things sometimes. I've become kind of a skeptic and a negative Nancy, where I'm usually Mr. Positive, but you just see stuff and you're like, I just don't believe this. You know, this doesn't feel authentic. So when you do find it, you know, it's that much more important to cherish it and kind of keep it intact.
Yeah, man. And that's like just before I started this whole YouTube thing, this fucking show my face on the internet, like I was always under the radar. You know what I mean? I didn't want people to know who I was and what I was about, and you know, and for a long time, I mentioned this several times, I never even put my government name out there. You know what I mean? Like, so it's, and obviously if people don't know what the government name is, it's your legal name, right? So yeah, because some people may watch from overseas and they're like, what the fuck do you mean government?
What is a government name? Do I have a government name? I gotta look this up.
Yeah. So, and this is going to go like being real, right? Keeping it a buck, right? So going into like the resume stuff, you know, like do you prior to, you know, TCM, when you were doing resume reviews and you were doing all this stuff with resumes, did you find a lot of people like just BSing on it? Like, for example, if you search SQLI on my resume or my LinkedIn, you'll never find it because I don't know shit about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to put myself out there as no SQL injection expert. Can I do it? Can I, yes, but like, I'm not going to, get into the nitty gritty into, a conversation where someone really knows it and they could fucking run circles around me. You know what I mean?
Set yourself up for that kind of conversation.
Yeah. I ain't about that. So what is your thought on that?
Well, I mean, it's, I think a lot of people, they do it because they either have copy pasted someone else's resume or something they found online and they just didn't do a thorough vetting. They want to make sure they get the call back end, or they're tired of just not getting a call and they don't really care if they set themselves up for that moment. They need to get a call back, so they'll fabricate stuff. Usually a lot of times, like recruiters in the early stages of their careers, from what I saw, most of them, myself included, you get nervous to ask probing questions. And once you start to get into the technical field where you're like, I don't know what SQL injection is, I don't know what XSS is, you know what I mean? You don't want to ask about it because you don't want to look like an idiot. So these people, they slide through, especially when you're working with external recruiters, they get that interview. And that's where the recruiting firms lose their credibility because they didn't vet this person. They just teed them up for false advertising. And that never works. You might get the job, but you're going to be either discovered or you're going to get lucky, and you're going to have to learn that really fast. And sometimes that's okay too. But I tell people like, hey, just before we move forward, here's the resume that I made for you. This is what I'm sending to the client. Can you give this a quick run through and just see, is there anything on here you don't want them to bring up? If you don't want them to bring it up, literally just tell me, I'll take it out and I'll put in a little asterisk note in my submittal to the client. Just say, hey, doesn't really have a lot of experience with SQL injection. He's been studying up on it the last couple of weeks. And that's actually one of the reasons he was excited about this role is he knows he'll get that exposure. So have one of your testers who's got some good experience with it. Feel free to bring it up. He'll be ready.
Yeah.
That's much better.
Yeah. That's pretty dope. You know what I mean? Like, because I remember, like, I mentioned this story quite a few times. And like when I was like an IT manager many, many moons ago, or lead, whatever you want to call me, overseeing, Cisco and Microsoft. And this is before like the cloud was really a thing. The cloud, and back then was, a data center, right? Like your co-location. So I had an interview, or I interviewed someone that said they know Active Directory, right? Like just because you can add some users and objects and groups or whatever inside of your AD doesn't mean you know AD. So this person obviously said they know AD, and I'm not the kind of person that's going to drill you on your, because everyone, fluffs a little bit, but that's a pretty big, when you're a sysadmin, network engineer, system engineer back then,
things you better know.
Yeah. Like we're going to be troubleshooting AD. So I simplified it, right? We have two DCs, and we added Joe to DC1 in the sales OU, and we went to DC2. Joe's not there. What is the reason and how to troubleshoot, right? And very, very simple. And he went on like DNS. He went on this whole rant that had nothing to do. He's like, oh, we'll add him again in DC2. I'm like, no, like. So you knew like he didn't really know what the like underlying problem was.
He hadn't been in that scenario probably before, which qualified.
Yeah, exactly. So you use like rep admin, use different tools to synchronize AD sync. There's different synchronization in sites and services to make sure replication is working, and there's other things that you can set up and make sure. And there was other things like for like Cisco stuff, saying I'm a routing switching guy, and you ask basic Cisco questions, and they're saying left field answers. But with the pen testing world, right? Like I never had to interview anyone, so I don't really. Hopefully, I don't know. One day maybe, but yeah, it's really interesting how people fib and lie on their resume.
I would have been way better at recruiting for pen testers. Holy smokes. Like if I had this experience first and then went into recruiting pen testing, just astronomical difference of level of understanding and questions, and just like totally different questions I probably would have asked. And I thought I was pretty good at what I was doing, but it's kind of interesting to sit here and be like, I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
Like I actually thought I was doing a good job. Like, no, I did a subpar job with my grilling.
Yeah. And that's what I love about cyber, you know what I mean? In this world, it's like, we're always learning something. And when you claim that you know it all, like I don't claim to know shit. Like I always say, I'm like, I don't know a lot. I know what I know, and that's it. Right. Like if you claim to like be some master at something, and you're going to have someone that's going to run circles around you, and vice versa. Right. And just like what I said, like there's people that say they're, AD masters. And I like to talk about Active Directory because I think I know it pretty well because I did it so long. And I'm not going to lie. Maybe I haven't said this on camera. I don't even know, maybe behind the scenes, but my heart, my bread and butter is in system engineering, right? I know that way better than I know pen testing. That's the God honest truth, right?
Yeah.
So like that's where my bread and butter was: networking, routing, switching, virtualization, Hyper-V, VMware, all that good stuff. And that's what I did prior to getting into the world of cyber. But yeah, man. So what are some, I can talk about that for hours, but yeah,
We've done it. We've done that before, literally.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we did speak for hours. So now, like, say now I'm coming to you in 2023/2024, and what would be like, I'm a noob. I'm getting out of college, and I want to get my first whatever gig. And let's talk about cyber, right? Cyber, if it's so when you get, I'm sure you get these questions, especially now being with TCM. Do you recommend folks trying to focus more on the offensive side or the defensive side? And what, and I would do a follow-up question. Where do you think there's more jobs? There's more jobs in the blue team or the offensive team or red team or whatever you want to call it?
Oh, I love that question. And it's something I've talked about openly for a few years, especially when you talk to like a bright-eyed kid, hasn't gotten any experience yet, and says, my goal is to be a CISO, and you're like, great. I love to hear it. Love the passion. I hit you up in a while when you need it. But it's when we start talking about that, point blank, if you want to be a CISO, you're going to need to cover a lot of areas that right now you might not think you're going to want to cover. You're going to definitely have to dive into GRC at some point. You're going to have to knock it out. You're going to have to learn a lot of things about how to work with different types of groups and finance and project management. And I've been reading Michelle Kahn's book, Phantom CISO, and I've just been reading it, even though I'm not trying to be a CISO, but there's so many lessons there about the little things that nobody's really glamorizing along the way. And, there's way more opportunities to go the CISO route if you are a blue teamer. There's just more types of jobs and pathways that lead there. There's not a whole lot of lifelong pen testers that go become CISOs straight just from offensive security side alone. So, but at the same time, if you really want to be a hacker, it's probably for a good reason. And that probably is the path that's going to be most fulfilling and invigorating for you. You'll have the most opportunities, honestly, to do things that just fill your bucket instead of checking alerts all day. You're trying to blow somebody's, day up. And, when you work with great customers, something I've seen, man, the customers that really want to learn this stuff, they don't have that offensive security mindset or skills, expertise internally, and they want to learn it. Our company offers like some cool shadowing opportunities and lessons learned along the way. We'll pick up the phone, like teammates Brad and Aaron and all these guys, they're just like, hey, do you want to learn what this tool is? I'll talk to you through it. And they're like, yeah, eating it up. So I think, though, that if you don't know what direction you want to go, just start networking with people and start to put yourself in a position where some sort of things can surface on your plate. Your radar starts to get crowded a little bit with different things you can learn. And your attention is going to naturally draw towards what it should, I think. But if you don't know, don't put too much pressure on yourself to like figure it out right now. It's like being 17. Okay, you're going to college. What are you going to major in for the rest of your life? You don't know anything. There's no way you could possibly know it. And by the time you're done studying for something, you could realize I don't like this that much, or I've discovered something else that's cool and new that I want to go do. We know cyber is it's not waiting for us to catch up.
Yep. So I want to follow up on something you said about networking, right? Like networking with folks and reaching out and broaden your horizon. Now, remember, I'm a new guy, right? I have tried to network with folks. I try to reach out to people on LinkedIn, but I get ignored. Now what? Because that has happened to me, but remember, I'm a different breed, like I said. I try not to harp on it too much now, but years ago I would take it personal and I would do personal things, right? I'll leave it at that. So I just because I'm a different kind of person, like I take it, I take it differently. And but now for a nerd, a normal nerd that's not going to think like me, like, what do you think, like, now they're going to do, like, what are you going to do? Like, I reached out to Joe's fucking ignoring me. Now what am I going to do?
I'd say treat it like alerts and monitoring. Most of it's false positives. You might get a response like, yeah, thanks for reaching out. Probably not going to get anything out of that, right? Most of the time, you're not going to get things, or you're not going to get what you're secretly hoping in the back of your mind. But maybe you just keep going until you start to understand what's working for me. What am I comfortable with? Do I have direction in this, or am I just aimless? But like, I was at a ISSA event last night, it was very low key. I had a Christmas sweater on. They had a Lockpick Village, a fantastic presentation, and delicious food. It was at Topgolf, and it's probably 50 people there. And I left with 3 people's phone numbers that needed some help looking for work. And I'm not recruiting anymore, but they were introduced to me by people that I had met or knew, and I was willing to help. And like, why did that happen? Because they went to the event. Now, if you're on LinkedIn or whatnot, eventually you're going to meet one person or 2 people that are going to reach out on your behalf. They're going to be willing to take that step. It can come like this. It's not likely to, but if you're looking at it, and I've said this many times, like if you're looking at it, like the only way I will value this as successful is if this turns into a job very soon. That's going to be probably a letdown. But if you're looking at this as I'm practicing this skill set, I'm practicing the craft of being a job seeker, which I will be using for the next 40 plus years. And even if I just get a connection and a response, like that's inching more towards success. And you just never know where that's going to come. So I think, just prepare to be rejected, and be prepared to be ignored, and just know that the odds at some point, they're going to tip in your favor just with at least one great connection. So keep going.
Yeah. And I totally agree. Right. And excuse me, like someone that the one that's moderating our chat, right? Like he's someone that didn't have many connections probably. And he somehow reached out. I don't even know how, like, it seems like we
don't even remember probably, right? Yeah.
I really don't remember. And then he asked, I think I put something out there. I need someone to help in my Discord because I don't know shit about that. So he helped me out with that. Then one thing led to another. Now we were friends. And then I got him his first IT job. Right. So, and he, I love him like a brother. So it's like, but maybe from his perspective, right? He's like, oh, fuck, this guy's probably never going to reach back out to me. I'm nobody. But like, okay, I may have a few more connections than that person. Right. And just like if I was to reach out to say someone, I don't know, I hate to compare, but like someone that has, more of a online presence than myself, because I don't want to say anything about, financial status because no one knows mine and I don't know theirs. Right. So you never know.
Measuring sticks and how people are going to look at it and be intimidated by or have that sort of, imposter syndrome of like, I don't stack up with this person. Everybody's got that different measuring stick.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, like, even with the, you going to Topgolf and linking up with people, maybe, some folks like Heath or Zach, right? Like before Zach started working with TCM, like he had an online presence from YouTube and all that good stuff. So maybe if someone saw him out and about that, wanted to do when he's, was doing like the IT career questions and doing all the stuff that he was killing it with. Now someone's like, oh, fuck, this dude is like really in the real world now, like, do I say hello? Is he going to be a prick? You know what I mean? Because how is he going to be just because he might think he's some head honcho just because he has some kind of leverage over me. You know what I mean? But you never know who you're going to run into. And that's why I always say like, yo, like if you see me out and about, just say, yo, what up? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to bite you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm no better than you and you're not better than me. Trust me. You know what I mean? So that's always the best way to be, in my opinion. Like, just be humble and just, help others because you never know what someone's going through, So
it's true. I was in DEF CON. Actually, I was coming out of, so I was in Vegas. I was for the B-sides and then DEF CON, but came out of B-sides and I heard somebody yell TCM, and I was like spinning around like, what's up? Kind of looking around like who said that. And so I sit down with these guys and then this friend of mine, Robert, who I didn't recognize at first. And like, I don't think he recognized me at first because we just knew each other through LinkedIn chat. And I had helped him years before that when he was just like trying to get started or whatever. And he was like, yo, are you Joe Hudson? And I said, yeah. He was like, dude, it's Robert, and it was just like hugs galore after that. And we hung out for about 2.5, 3 hours after that, just sitting there. Unbelievable experience. But I was very much just like, how I am offline and whatnot. And he was like, man, honestly, you're different that offline than I would have expected on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I thought I was pretty much always straight on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It was a good reminder that people are always going to build their sort of idea of a person through a profile or through what we think that they are. And once you get to know people, Like you're like, man, this is easy to talk
Yep.
with you, you know?
Exactly. All right, D. So yeah, if you have some questions, throw it up. And I'm 20 years old in Africa. Kudos. Thank you so much for tuning in. I can't link with people outside my country too much. Would you say it's impossible to get? No. I'll let Joe answer first, and then I'll shoot my ideas in there.
No, I love that question. I've never seen a question actually like that. I agree. No, that's not impossible. Cybersecurity is a global issue. Cybersecurity, there's no stone unturned, so to speak, that cyber will not be applicable, and every country has its own problems, for example. So instead of worrying about the world of cyber and then comparing yourself to anyone else in any other continent, find out what is really important in my backyard. What can I contribute to something that's literally like in the next 10-minute walk of my house? What can I do that's relevant there? And throw yourself into that, and then you snowball that from there. But I think you can start real small with absolutely nothing. And the networking, though, that's a totally different beast. I bet you there's people within 20, 30-minute walk of you that would love to have a little meetup, even if it's only 3 people just coming together and nerding out for the night. So no, definitely not.
Yeah, and I don't know. Obviously, I don't know how Africa is, but there's like here in the States, we have something called Meetup. You can even go on Discord servers to see like if there's any kind of DEF CON meetups or nerd meetups, whatever you want to call them, and just holler at them and see what's up, and like it's even if you want to virtually hang out, right? And you can even come on TCM's has a fucking huge following on their Discord server. You can join mine. I don't know what the fuck you're gonna learn in there, but like come shoot the shit. I'll just show up and talk shit with you.
That's funny.
Yeah. Any other questions, D? I don't know if there was
that was a great question.
Yeah. Can't really. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because I can't really. I guess we can put this one up here. Jacob. How do you keep one?
Love that guy.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Oh, he's a great dude, man. Jacob and I have talked in the past, and that's a great question that obviously applies to everybody. Tough job markets are going to come in waves. We're in a weird time right now that is – I was on LinkedIn today, and I literally hit the show more tabs down, for all the headlines, because I just wanted to see how many companies right now are just facing all these negative, awful news updates or layoffs, and it's been endless now for almost 2 years, I feel like, where it's just the next one and then the next one. I think that you're going to have to realize and remember that a lot of people are going to unplug. They're going to take their eye off the ball. They're going to get dejected, and they're going to be gone from those opportunities that you will still be there for. So you have 2 choices: dip and leave, or stick around and stay hopeful and stay dedicated. If it's something that you really want to be dedicated to for the rest of your career, I don't think it's a decision. And you will have some time that's probably going to get really tough and really low. I think we've all been there. I've been through it recently, and I made it pretty public. And I took some time off. I was very lucky to have some time away, and I just completely unplugged from everything. Mm-hmm. And I came back fresh, ready to take it on. That's the thing, is it's like I didn't come back and it was gone. I came back, though, with a different mindset, ready to be like, okay, reset button, recharge, blew in the cartridge, put it back in the Nintendo, and now I'm playing. And that's a choice, man. That's just a choice.
No, I agree with you. And it's a funny thing that you say that, because I never disconnected and took a break, or I forgot the word. I think the guy that started with you guys that's in the marketing, he said that word. I forget the word. Like he took
sabbatical.
Sabbatical, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So having that opportunity, not a lot of people obviously have it financially, right? Like maybe okay, I need to get that dough because I need to get the next bill paid. But if you do, if you have that luxury of just disconnecting and, like you said, blowing in the Nintendo cartridge, put it back in and reset your game, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's super, super important. And even if you can't do it for months on end or whatever, you can do it, even if you are working. And that's what we were saying in the beginning with mental health, right? Disconnecting for whatever, the hour of the day, or just like after 5 o'clock or whenever you're done with your work. Yeah, I understand the continuous education and always learning in this field. But I don't know. I agree, but I disagree, right? Like, yeah, after 5, 6 o'clock at night, if I'm not doing a live, I'm playing going to play hockey or go to the gym or disconnect from this, because you'll go mental. At least for me, like I can't be on the computer fucking all day long. Like I can't.
No, man, it's scientifically proven to be bad for you, you know, in many ways.
So have your disconnect and just work an extra day. For an example, on Saturday, wake up, pretend you have a work day, maybe from whatever, 9 to 12 or 10 to 1, and do your studying. I don't recommend, me personally, like when I was studying during the week after work, I was forgetting I was forgetting more than when I was to study less and I retain more. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, that worked way better for me. When I was trying to cram shit and learn something new every night, stay for an hour or two a night from, 9 to 11 or 8 to 10, like I was forgetting shit left and right. I'm like, fuck, because you go to bed all mush, you know what I mean? Your fucking brain's all mush.
Your brain's already tired from the day.
Exactly. So that's just, if anyone has any, comments on that's watching this live or after the fact, like put it in the comments, because I want to hear your perspective on how you study, right? And how you continue learning, because like Heath, right? I love the guy, and the fucking guy, I remember him saying something like he would teach when people were sleeping. It's like, how the fuck how are you alive, dude? Like,
he doesn't sleep. He doesn't sleep. And he's figured out a way to get 30 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Every day.
So, and it's kudos to the guy, you know what I mean? Kudos to the guy, but I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like that's not, I don't know. I think he's a little younger than me, but as we're getting older, it's a harder thing.
Yeah.
LinkedIn user, when you guys see the job market for pen testing picking up, feels possible to. So you can go ahead and jump on that. And
yeah, I mean, the job market for pen testing is going to continue to pick up at the same pace. Probably other roles are going to pick up and or slow down. The thing is with pen testing, I don't see less regulations coming. I see more regulations coming with companies, if anything. And so you're going to have more organizations that continue to need pen testing. And as companies start to go through, for example, 2 or 3 bad runs in a row, working with external vendors that are just not doing a good job, they're going to be like, why do I continue to pay this money to people I can't trust? Why don't we hire internally? The problem with that is that then those roles end up getting cut oftentimes internally, and then they start to go back out and go, well, we have to required to get an external pen test anyways. We might as well do it. And so I think that that's going to remain a volatile hiring spree forever. I don't think that anything's going to be massively changed within it. I do think that more people will be able to get training, because what you have to understand now is like we're in this really wild time of this robust training offerings and people starting to realize like, hey, there isn't just one way to go or 2 ways to go. There's a lot of experience that can translate here. And once those people get through the wall to management, those are the people for the last 2-3 years that have been starting to get the training, get the experience, and then get the jobs. It might have taken a while, but they're going to go, okay, this experience worked for me. It absolutely has enabled me to do this job well. Now I'm in a position to make decisions and I have this opportunity to pay it forward. I'm going to remember that. And I'm going to take a shot on some of these kids that were just like me, or career changers that are 43 years old of all backgrounds, women, countries, doesn't matter what it is. But there will be more people that have been through the gauntlet that can now extend that opportunity to those that haven't been getting it. So I do see that getting better, but they can't just create jobs like that. You know what I mean? So I'm just hoping that more people get the opportunity based on the success stories of others.
Yeah. And, just like we said, all right, so I guess talking about that pen testing thing, right? And do you feel as though, this is just my thought process with this, because obviously when you're in an internal team, right, you're doing more red teaming. And there is a little difference. There's a difference between a red team engagement or red teaming than pen testing. So like when you're an internal red teamer or offensive person, you're going to be more of a red teamer versus a pen tester. And that's at least the way I think about it. Like a pen tester is an external company like TCM. We're going to go ahead and pen test your network, or, like you were saying about the regulations, those things are just going to get more regulated. Companies are going to need, HIPAA, PCI, blah, 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 all these regulated compliance stuff. And it's going to be super important. So to be like a junior person, right, And that's something obviously with TCM, right? Let's harp on that for a second. Like if you go get your PJPT, right?
Yep,
PJPT.
PJP. Yep.
Yeah. And then hopefully you can get your PMPT, and then you can talk with them, right? You could talk with TCM. You can shoot the shit, debrief your report, whatever it is. Do you guys do a debrief for the PJPT, or is it only for the PMPT?
No, you're going to get an interaction with people and understand like your process. And like we actually were looking at the data for fail rates on our certifications earlier today, and people were kind of sharing it in our Slack channel because there's oftentimes people, they'll come and be like, hey, I'm not understanding why I failed this. And so you're going to get some hints, or you're going to get some information that tells you like, hey, look, this is why this was not a pass, or this is why you missed this. It's not a pass fail. It's an education along the way. But you're supposed to be able to get an experience that you can now, you know what it feels like to do a pen test start to finish. You know, like that to me is, I'm not a technical guy. I've never been interested in being a hacker. Like literally never have I woken up and been like, I really want to learn this stuff. But once I realized I was in my role and that I can get better at my role by going through that stuff, for me to choose not to do that was like, I can't choose not to do that. So 2024 is going to be a weird year for me, you know, kind of exploring some technical things that are only going to help me in my sales role.
Exactly.
And it's going to be wild to sit there and go, okay, this is what everybody's going through. Okay.
Exactly. And you know, as far as the PJPT, if that fellow or that person, I lost them, but like if they wanted to go through there, and then now you guys offer, so do you guys only offer shadowing if the company, say for example, my company hires you to do the pen test, I can shadow you guys doing the pen test. You guys don't have like junior level guys shadowing you guys.
So a great question. Very interesting timing. I had a question or a conversation, sorry, with a really cool group not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, very well known minority focused group that they receive money, you know, from people sponsoring them, and then they kind of dip and they're like, hey, I did my part. Here's your money. And they really want to give their folks, their members, an opportunity to get some experience that they can talk about and be able to translate and see if it's for them. And so we've been talking about like, hey, different organizations, we might have the opportunity to have different people shadow, not participate in the pen test, but just get an idea of like what it's like to go through this, get some teaching lessons. But if somebody was to call me and say, hey, I'm interested in having you pen test our company, I also would like to shadow the pen test along the way, then that's always on the table for that person. It's really cool to watch too.
Yeah. And you know, harping on that, right? Because there's not a lot of people that do that, right? Like, especially if you think about it, if I'm an internal guy, right? And I'm seeing all the ways in, if I'm like on the blue team or whatever the hell team I'm on, now I can see what you're doing. And yeah, you're going to debrief so we can remediate, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's like a double-edged sword. So it's like, okay, I'm seeing how you're doing it. I can take notes on how you're doing it, and I can do it myself next time. Yes, I guess there's like, if you have to, you know, get it for compliance reasons, obviously we can't do it ourselves, right? We need someone externally to do that. But now if we're just doing it for informative sake, right? Like we're just like, fuck, are we vulnerable to this? Hey, you know, TCM, check us out, fucking pen test us. Now I want to shadow you guys just so I can, you know, learn a thing or two, and I can just take notes. And now I'm like, okay, I don't need to spend X amount of dollars anymore because I just found out they just taught me how to do it. You know what I mean? So
it's a good thing to be able to come away from it saying, I don't necessarily need TCM as much next time. That's not a loss for us. You know, we have a program at TCM called the PCRP, and that's really centered around the PJPT and the PNPT. You can get, you know, both, but that you also get a lot of career coaching, and it's a program we would continue to evolve. You know, Zach, my teammate Zach, like this has been something he's been just foaming at the mouth over for a long time now. And this is something he puts his heart and soul into and always is taking feedback and trying to evolve it. But one really cool thing lately was we had some awesome client partners say, hey, we're cool having you bring them on to the pen test and allowing them to actually get some of the experience pen testing our environment under your supervision. So that we're always looking for ways to try to give people that experience as opposed to, hey, I got this certification. It's like, yeah, good for you. but let me tell you about that certification. Let me tell you about this experience because I actually did a real pen test start to finish, with it.
Yeah. So
You're good.
No, I think that's what's, separates you guys, right? From like the OSCP. I don't know. I never did the EJP, EJPT or whatever
Yep, e-learn security.
The e-learn security one. So I don't know how they are. But I know a lot of people after you guys made that like more realistic, right? And now like the OffSec one is, integrating Active Directory, but it's like, you have 24 hours to do it. And you have another 24 hours to do the report and you just submit the report, but you're not talking to anyone. So I think having that debrief and having that communication skills is something so critical, especially like in this field, right? And especially with the people that are in this space, because a lot of them are socially awkward, right? So having that skill to...
I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you have some people that can't maybe cannot get into, a Zoom call and say, okay, Mr. Customer, this is what we found, this blah, blah, blah. Like that's hard for a lot of folks, right? So having that practice and having like the career, however you guys offer, and I think that's something that stands out. And I have to say, big ups, right? Big ups for that, because that's something that's super, super critical that you guys are doing. And hopefully one day I can, check that out and see how it is, right? Have a, being a part of that. But, we'll talk about that later on. But
it's no slouch. I actually know some good friends that they are extremely well certified. They've got all the OSCP, OS, whatever. They got all the other stuff. And they basically said and kind of joked around, yeah, I'm not taking the PNPT because I don't think I could handle it if I failed it, and they're kind of joking, but they're also kind of serious because it is the PNPT is no slouch, man. It's not something you're walking into and just passing. And so whenever I see people on LinkedIn saying, hey, I passed this, like I haven't gone through it, but I've watched people struggle with it and I've watched it intimidate people and I've watched it, like be this problem they have to solve. And I know that feeling feels really good. And so it's a genuine excitement for them to see it, because I know that that's not you woke up and you decided you're going to go get that cert, studied a little bit, and then you passed. It's just not happening.
And it's something that I would love to give a shot, right? Like to see, because am I doing pen testing all day, every day? No, I'm not doing that. That's not my role. That's not what I'm doing. But I would love to like get more, obviously I have the training and everything like that, just like to sit that. And like I was talking to a buddy, he's like, oh, maybe we should do the junior one just for shits and giggles to get a little taste of how they test and how it actually runs, then go for the, PNPT.
Yeah.
And so
could be a beta tester. It could be one of your beta testing things, man.
Yeah. And I think I'll be like one of those guys. Like if I fail, I'll be butthurt. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck. Even though like, yeah, it's a learning experience, but it's like, it sucks failing. Like, and I only failed.
If it's something you can't fail at though, like to me, it's not exciting. Like I don't want to go do things that I know I can't fail at. You know what I mean?
I think for me, in all honesty and transparency for everyone, I'm a fucking cheapskate. Right? So
I know that.
If I have to pay for it again, that's where I'm upset. Like if I can do a free retake, then I'm good with
free retake. We got the free retake, man. Yeah. And the pass rate actually on the retake, it's surprising as well. You would think that everybody would just come back, but there's a lot of people that just don't take it seriously enough. They haven't really taken the feedback or taken the hints, and they'll repeat the same error again and be like, I don't understand what I did. And that's just because it could be a multitude of things. It could be their approach to studying, their approach to preparedness. It could be the way that our content is delivered or the environment is just not the way that they click on how they learn. That's possible. We have to know that. We know that. Like TCM, I love it, man. I think it's the best teaching style out there, but I know it's not for everybody. I know that.
Yeah. No, I definitely learned a lot from, a few of those, courses that I have and that I've been exposed to. Like, like I definitely always, like if I'm going to think about something, I'm like, okay, like if I have to brush up, yeah, we can YouTube it real quick or whatever, or pass the hash thing or whatever kind of attack that we want to, run through real quick. But going through that, like how it's categorized and everything like that, it's easier to like, oh, let's jump into this. AD, okay, let's do DNS relay, whatever it is. Let's jump into that, watch that video a few times, test it in the lab, and like, okay, now this is something I want to throw on an engagement, right? So that's what's something I really, really, really enjoy about the training. I haven't done too much of the other trainings, but the whatever, the practical hacking course or whatever.
Practical ethical hacking, PEH.
Yep. And yeah, well, like I really enjoy it. Like I think I watched this whole series when it was on YouTube, when it was like when he first put it out, and I think I'd seen a little bit of his revision because you did some revisions recently, right?
Yep.
And so yeah, I watched some of that, but obviously we have 10 more minutes. I don't know if there's any other, if there's any other questions, and can you share some other study? All right, so for me, I guess that's more of a question for me, unless Joe, you study for any.
Well, I mean, I taught a lot of people how to study when I was teaching little kids, and that could apply. But no, I think it's probably better for you to take that one right now.
Yeah. So the way I want to go back to when I was studying a lot, when I took studying more serious, right? So when I took studying more serious, I was more for the VMware stuff, the Cisco stuff, and Microsoft stuff, and all the networking stuff that I did. A lot of the CEH, CHFI, LPT, ECSA, the CISSP, SSCP, those certifications, that was more like study a book, read some questions, and memorize. I'm going to be
memorize for the test. Yeah.
Yep. And that's how I studied for my EC Console and ISC Square certifications, right? But I took a different approach when I was doing Microsoft and like Cisco stuff. Like I was actually studying and wanting to really know what I was doing. So for an example, now we'll stick more to the cyber stuff, right? So if you're talking about pen testing, obviously setting up your own lab, and obviously TCM show you guys how to do that, set up an Active Directory lab, penetrate your Active Directory lab, set it up as a vulnerable AD. And now there's other things out there like the GOAT, and I think Security IT Lab sets that up. So kudos to Howard for that. That's fucking dope. I watched some of those videos and that's pretty sick. So there's so many ways to study today, right? Everyone learns differently. I hate to read. I fucking hate reading. So I don't like PowerPoints. I don't like to read books. I'd rather just do it. So that's the way I learn more, like listening to something and then doing as I'm being told. And instead of like studying a book and then reading questions, like that's not really my way of learning. So yeah, that's the way I've studied. That's, with the Cisco stuff, obviously packet tracer, GNS3, EVE-NG, setting that stuff, even, when I did my CCNA, CCNP and to CCIE level, and setting all that stuff up. And then my, Palo Alto stuff, PCNSE, same thing, setting up Palos, and really setting up a lab and understanding what you're really touching and configuring and hacking or whatever. And then that's the way I would study. If it's for an exam, obviously look at the syllabus of what you're trying to learn and try to tackle those, bullet point by bullet point. But if it's just learning how to study to learn a topic, that's the way I would say.
Understand the test, understand the format of the test. I used to tell my students, I told all my students every year because they had, standardized testing at the end of the year, this huge cloud hanging over their head. And they, because they'd been grilled by their parents forever, like, hey, we've got to get you to pass this test. And I would tell them, hey, guys, ask me right now, like how many of my standardized tests I remembered my scores. It's zero. I don't know any of it. And I would tell them, like, listen, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that you have a choice. We can skip this whole unit because I know it's not important for the rest of your life. And you may get one question on your standardized test. And we can learn this other cool thing that's not on your test, but great for life. Or we can really study for this next week. And they'd always be like, yeah, we want to do the electrifying gummy worms, or whatever. And the thing is, like, you have to be able to figure out what's the most important and to spend your time and energy on, and not, I think, exert too much energy in the wrong directions. And so if you know that something is very important, put your energy into it and figure out maybe different ways that you study it and evaluate. Like you even said, you were studying 9 to 11 at night, and then sometimes you realize like, no, different times of the day and whatnot, like mix that up. Just do that. Mix up the time of the day, and that's it. That's it. Don't drink a soda before it and see if you're better, whatever it is, but little tweaks like that, I think, just pay attention to the results. Everybody's so different. It's so tough to give study advice when everybody's so different.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's exactly like, it's so hard because I study so different than a lot of people. And yes, let's knock on wood that I've been pretty successful. And, and I get all these questions like, I'm no genius, right? I'm a fucking genius. So far from one. But I think it's just like, if you know how to be successful, you can be successful, right? And whatever works for you, just tackle that, right? It's hard to, go by what someone else is doing. It's like, for an example, let's take the gym for an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
If, you can't compare yourself how I work out and how you're going to work out, or how I work out and how The Rock or Brock Lesnar works out, right?
Right.
I can't compare it to them because they're a fucking beast, right?
Yep.
So it'll, just stay in your own lane, and what works for you, just do that. Don't compare yourself to the next bloke. You know what I mean? So,
great point.
Yeah, I think that's, we're almost at the top of the hour. Any other questions? Hate blah, blah, blah. I hate reading until I took the OSCP course, and there's the videos were so bad. I like yeah.
I get a lot of questions actually about OffSec, and I think people, because I work where I work, they assume maybe I don't like the company or I don't want to hear, like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I look at it as another great offering that's out there. The OSCP, for example, to me is still like the main thing you're going to find on job descriptions. And because most of the people that are evaluating the talent, they haven't even been through any of it or any other training. And so they still just lean on it. So I hope that OffSec continues to evolve, add good things to their programs, and most importantly, takes feedback and does well, because that's good for everybody. But at the same time, people need to continue sharing feedback about their experiences, because I hate it when I get on LinkedIn and I just see, I got this certification. I'm like, and then what? And tell us more. Like, okay, cool. And then you DM them offline. They're like, actually, it was kind of a waste of time, Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. All right, let's put what Kev Tech said.
Kev, what's up, man?
Don't compare yourself to someone else, and don't try to arm wrestle Pat. Learn 2 lessons. Yeah.
He was one of your victims in Vegas.
Yeah,
huh?
he couldn't move my arm either. I love you, Kevin, but keep working out and punching the bag, dude. Maybe next time. Love you, kid.
I like it, man. This is good. I will not be somebody that arm wrestles you, and I'm probably not going to arm wrestle Kevin either, because it's like that thing with the PNPT. If I fail, I don't want to have to look myself in the mirror. But yeah, Kevin, good to see you, man.
All right, let's see what Owen says up here. Have you started to see a trend of what type of essential securities are showing up in job postings with all the new offerings?
Yeah, I definitely still make a priority to check that out. One of my jobs is to educate people. Like, I talk to staffing firms and go, do you have any idea who we are? And do you have any idea why you should? And do you have any idea what these certifications are? And so I'll pull up like their job posting that they've had and been like, I'm not grilling you. I'm not trying to like catch you right now, but do you understand like what these are and how they would compare to our certification? Oh, you don't? No worries, man. That's why I'm glad we took this call. Let me explain it to you and why I would love to see the PNPT or the PJPT or any of our other certs make it onto this job description. Here's why it's relevant. And then that gives me a good opportunity to help spread the word, because you want to see more options on there. You don't want to just see, I've seen so many job descriptions that say OSCP, CEH, or CISSP. And you're like, why don't you just throw on there like certified hamburger maker while you're at it? Like just,
yeah.
So there needs to be more education about it as opposed to anything else, because the great offerings are out there, not just TCM, other companies too.
Yeah. And there's one, there's others, PJPT, PMPT. There's also like the CRTP from like the Certified Red Team
operator. Yep.
Yeah. No, not the operator. That's from like that UK. I'm talking about the Indian guy. Alted Security.
I'm not sure what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's the let me see. I think it's the CR
Professional, certified red team professional.
Yeah. Yep, CRTP. So this one is the one I'm talking about, folks. That one. So that one is, I heard it's really, really good. And obviously it's all about attacking and defending Active Directory. And you have a lab, a fully patched environment, probably similar to the PMPT. I don't know. I never took either or, so I can't talk. But yeah, like a fully patched AD environment, and you just go to town, right? And I'm not really sure what the objective is here. Maybe just compromise your domain. I don't know. And yeah.
So, I do think it's cool if you find a job or a company that you want to work at, take a look on LinkedIn of the team that works there in those roles, find out what kind of training they went through. And if there's anything unique that stands out as sort of an outlier that you're not familiar with, could be worth looking into and could be a great excuse to reach out to that person and say, hey, I actually applied to your company, but I'm not following up on that. I had a question about this training. And obviously, I just want to know, did that help you in your job that you're in right now? And is that something you'd recommend and why?
Yep.
And if that person doesn't get back to you, maybe they're not going to be the greatest teammate when you get that job, but if they do get back to you, you just made a new connection, and you also may get some incredibly valuable advice that helps you to know, do I want to go spend this money on this? So
yeah,
I would advise people looking into that and not just doing it to do it, but using it as an excuse to connect.
Cool. Awesome. So obviously, Joe, it's top of the hour. I want to have you go back to your football and your life. So I really appreciate this, dude. Like, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for spending an hour together. And tell the team over there I said hello, and tell Heath to hit me up. And yeah, man, I really appreciate every single thing from TCM, yourself, Zach, Heath, the whole shebang, whoever's behind the scenes doing what you guys are doing. And hopefully I'll attempt that exam and look like a fool or come out like a champ, right?
Yeah, let me know about the beta testing. We might be able to come up with some, but no, man, I've told you before, you're a real one. You stay true to who you are, and I think that you represent a great population of people out there that doesn't have, I'll say they have a voice, but they may not have the accent representing them quite as much. So keep doing your thing, man, and really appreciate all you do and your support of not just TCM, but a lot of different companies that you've vetted and people you've vetted. Keep it up, man. We're all proud of you.
Good. All right. So any last words for the folks who are watching, and how can people connect with you if they don't know who you are? And
LinkedIn is really the best place. I have really subtracted a lot of my social media presence and whatnot. I'm not on Twitter. I think I have a name on Twitter, but I'd fail that login for sure. I am going to be getting back on Discord. I've been getting tagged a lot on Discord recently, and I kind of just cut that out as I started my job. But LinkedIn is the best place probably to find me. And really, my only advice is, I know that right now it can be a great time of year, or it can be an extremely stressful time of year, and try to be patient with yourself and just remember why you're doing the things you're doing, why you love the people that you're around, and to really just make it to January with a smile on your face if you can, because this should be the best time of the year for a lot of people. So I hope it is, and happy holidays, everybody out there. Thank you for checking out tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe, and happy holidays to everyone, and much love, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace, folks.